Hey, party people, it's Cliff. So I came across a video yesterday about a fella named Neil McDonough and how he has a no kissing clause in his contract. And out here in Hollywood, contracts are pretty much everything. Whatever you got going on, whatever you don't want the people to film, you got to make a contract for it, or else they'll just do whatever they want. And when I saw that YouTube video and read that story, I gotta wait for this guy. This guy's driving like a bat out of hell. Maybe he's not. But it first reminded me of a story that Katie Sackhoff had talked about, where back in the early stages of her career, she would do a movie and she did not have a clause in her contract that said that you cannot use a body double. And so this is the thing that actors all do. Or at least if you're a young actor or a young actress coming up in Hollywood, you should really figure out your contract and make sure that, you know, the things that you don't want a production to do, you put that in the contract. Now, that being said, the video I watched yesterday about Neil McDonough, how, you know, the story and the sensationalism is that, you know, oh, Hollywood's blacklisted him. Maybe, I don't know the whole details of it. But it's really hard as a filmmaker to make a story if you're going to have a male lead, a male character lead, who also has a romantic interest in the female character lead, to not have them kiss in a movie. And so you got to think about it. And like, you know, from Neil's perspective, it's like he doesn't want to kiss any woman because he respects his wife, and he does that totally fine, 100%. I'm behind that. But at the same time, if you're an actor and you're, you know, and you're wanting to, you know, well, not wanting to, but it's like acting is, you know, a drama teacher a long time ago told me that the definition of acting is pretending to live truthfully in among fictional things. And it's one of those things where, like, every single movie, you know, like, if you put no kissing, you know, in your contract clause, totally cool, but that automatically removes you from doing any romantic comedies, right? That automatically removes you from doing any part where a lead has a certain love interest, right? And I remember that there is a couple of, you know, there are scenes where the lead characters don't have to kiss. I remember Pacific Rim. The thing I really liked about that was that the first movie, the second movie just doesn't exist. We don't count that one. But the first Pacific Rim, it's like the main characters just have a love for each other, and they don't need to kiss, like, at the end of the movie. But it's one of those things where, like, okay, you know, that's a bit of a conundrum. I don't think it's a cancel. I don't, and like, looking deeper into it, I don't think it's necessarily a canceled, like him getting canceled, but him basically, but what his contract says is not allowing him to get any parts, you know. And so then you have a debate, right? It's like, well, did you really get canceled? Or is it like, hey, we have these 5 things for you. These directors and these producers really like your work. We really want to work with you. But there's a kissing scene in all of these scripts. And, you know, the studio heads and network people, they're all like, oh, well, we got to keep this, you know, we got to keep this kissing scene in because it's the main, like, draw for the characters. And then you just have to say no. You know, but I guess at the other end of not the other end of the spectrum, but the story with Katie Sackhoff, where earlier in her career, they used a body double to show her butt and her chest. And it was one of those things where, like, that was the moment that she realized that, oh, she needs to have a clause in her contract that says you cannot use a body double to fake a cut in the scene of where she's taking off all her clothes because of the way that, you know, movies are made. And so in a way, like, yeah, actors, you have to protect yourself, but you also have to make that decision to say, okay, well, you know, like, this is my rules. Honorable, very good. Are those rules going to remove you from potential jobs? You know, and that's sort of and you could argue both ways. It's like, that's the shady, you know, nature of Hollywood. But there's also people that you work with that are, you know, that honor that and say, like, all right, we like you, we like what you do, you know, we think you're right for this part. We're going to try and honor, you know, those things in your contract, and then move forward and call it a day. And I think you'll get a lot of stories. I think you'll get a lot of stories about all of those instances where things went wrong. And you're never going to get those stories where things went right, you know? And that's just the nature of it. You know, everybody will, you know, latch on to, obviously everybody latches on to drama. They don't latch on to sort of the talking through it and the nuance of it. It's like, I'd really like to know what was in those contracts, you know, what was happening with those things. You know, one of the most interesting contracts I sort of skimmed, I didn't read, was the contract between Paramount Pictures and the U.S. government when they were filming Top Gun on the aircraft carriers. And basically, in the contract, they said that, you know, Paramount Pictures, they take care of every single, like, piece of budget, you know? Like, they you know, the crew has certain set of rules when they're on the aircraft carrier, like, and it went into detail. It was like, you know, the Hollywood studio will be allowed to have 2 F-15 Strike Eagles, you know, to be used for filming purposes, and all the jet fuel and all of that, and everything is paid for by the studio, you know. And, you know, when you have a big actor like Tom Cruise coming in there, like, you know, all of the, you know, the Paramount's willing to pay for all of that because they know it's going to make a whole lot of money. And you've heard the stories about, you know, the U.S. military or the government. They handshake with Hollywood as long as you make the military look good. And, you know, they approve all the scripts. So it's kind of not, it's not as simple as, you know, oh, he was blacklisted from Hollywood. It's not as simple as that. And while it may be true, I would be curious to know how that blacklisted would have happened had Neil put in, had Neil, like, not have that kissing contract. I'd be curious. But it's one of those things. That's just like the nature of Hollywood. You know, back to that Top Gun contract, man, it was a lot of pages. And they were, you know, and it was down to the, you know, the crew will be on the aircraft carrier for X amount of days. They're going to be in this slot, like, shooting this, and, you know, XYZ, you know, ABC 1, 2, 3, all of the different details, and all of that has to be in the contract in order for it to be, you know, in order for you to film it, in order for you to make money off of it. And you know, even though and, like, you know, everything that happens on paper really doesn't, you know, it can happen. I guess the thing is, right, is, like, from a reality TV show perspective editor. Actually, I got a story for you. So I was working on one of the Real Housewives shows, and one of the things that you do, and actually, if you notice this, if you go to an event, they'll always have a sign that says, you know, filming in progress. If you don't want to be filmed, do not enter the area. And they say it more politely with a sign or whatever. A lot of times that happens over at Comic-Con. And so what that does is that you have to have signage that says, you know, hey, we're filming in this area. We might use you in this particular context. And if you don't want it, then you don't want it. Well, in reality TV shows, like, you know, they go to all these different businesses and whatnot. So the signage is there, but everyone who's on camera has to have like a contract, or like at least a clearance form that you have to go out and sell. And that's what production assistants do. PA producers go out there and do that. So one of the Real Housewives shows, it might have been maybe not a Real Housewives show, but it was something. One of those put people in a house and have drama happen to it. And one of the things is that, you go out there and you say, okay, whatchamacallit, what is this guy doing? I don't know. I don't trust this truck. I'm gonna slow down a little bit more. But anyway, the cast went and rented a limo company, right, to go to wherever, for the scene. And the limo driver, they watched the scene and they did this, and they're like, and they know of the show, and they basically told producers, like, look, we're just a limo scene. You paid us for our work, but I do not want our business in your show. Well, I'm like, all right, cool, hands down. I don't want me or my likeness or business in the show. Well, somebody didn't do their due diligence, and they put the limo driver and the businesses in the show. And the limo driver sued the production company and won however many millions of dollars, right? Actually, a more recent example, of course, was The Bachelorette. And every time we do like a TV show, like background checks, 100% background checks on everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, 100% background checks. And like the drama has already happened, right, with The Bachelorette. Like, they canceled the entire show because of the stuff that came up. There are people that do these background checks, that do the complete research for these TV shows. And I remember when they canceled the whole show because the woman did whatever she did. I don't even know what it was, but it's just like, you didn't do a background check on this person, before filming, before you filmed everything, and just canceled the entire show. There's somebody that got fired off of that show because they didn't do the due diligence and the work. But that's also, it's a little bit outside the talk of like being in the contract of stuff, but like those are the things that that the contract protects you as an actor, and the contract protects you as a business or an individual, and also the contract protects the company from doing anything, that's rash or inappropriate. Because as an editor, I never meet any of the cast. I never meet any of the, the people the people who are on tape. Never go to set, never talk about anything. So I'm relying on the producers or the production manager, the post-production managers, post people, to tell me as the editor what we can and cannot use in this edit. And part of the first edit or first draft is to cut it in a certain way that it's going to tell the story. I remember specifically, I was working on one of these, house reality TV shows, and the house reality TV show had a whole bunch of artwork, and supposedly all of the artwork inside the house had to be removed from production, and then artwork was put up in the place in order to make in order to whatchamacallit. It's like, you can't just show random artwork. Well, it gets together in post, the show's done. There was a piece of art that was already in the house that was not cleared. We couldn't find the documents for it. And I mean, I tell you, the entire reality TV shows are basically like binders and binders and binders full of documentation of people signing, things saying we can use their likeness on camera for reality TV shows. And this artwork wasn't cleared. And I remember having we had the scene, we cut it together, and then we had legal come down and just sit down in the bay with me, take a look at it, like, all right, here's the scene. And we played the scene, and legal takes a look at it and says, it'll be all right. Nobody's going to pay attention to it, and if they do, it's like, we'll figure it out later, and And companies will take, like Hollywood companies will take a risk on whether or not to air something because of that. You know, there was another funny one, which is where the girl on camera, you know, was screaming at another girl, and she's like, "Bitch, you crazy, you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, crazy." And I remember it was so funny. We put it in the show, right? Because it's like, you know, lowbrow reality TV. We put it in the show, and we were like, "Oh, is that gonna interfere with Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, like the trademark and the brand?" You know, because that's their saying. And very specifically, because of the way it was used in context, no, it wasn't, because you can't use that. And what was interesting is, like, you could put that in the show, but you can't use that line to advertise for the show, because there's two different things. So, you know, it was funny. It's like, so the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs line, you know, the one woman calling the other woman like crazy, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I'll never forget it. It was hilarious. But anyway, that's the thing with contracts. It's like, it's not really getting banned. It's just, I mean, it's all nuance. Like, there's no like one thing fits all. It's all in the details. And that's why you get the saying, the devil is in the details. You know, that's why there's always these classic sayings that, you know, and those are the reasons for it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little contract talk, which is a little bit of interesting Hollywood speak, but, you know, that's the nature of it. Everybody tries to get everything right, and you know, and you gotta prevent people, bad people, from taking advantage of you in any industry, especially Hollywood. But I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.